The soft life isn't sponsored, it's actually self-sourced. Somewhere along the way, the soft life got rebranded, and somehow that soft life was wrapped up in someone else's credit card. Like ease, rest, and freedom were gifts, not something that we could fund or source for ourselves. But the softest women I know were never waiting to be rescued by someone. Her softness isn't a side effect of privilege. It's a reflection of how deeply she protects her own peace. She doesn't need to be chosen by anyone to feel worthy of herself. And she doesn't outsource her safety, her lifestyle, or her joy. Her life is paid for in full with clarity, boundaries, and self-trust. The soft power woman, whether she's partnered or solo, is never dependent on anyone. Because real softness isn't something you're given, it's something you architect.
The soft life narrative is everywhere right now, and I understand why a lot of women are tired. But there's something important this conversation doesn't prepare women for, and that's what I want to talk about today. When people talk about the soft life, they're usually talking about a very specific picture. It's a life that promises rest, not constantly being in survival mode. A life that feels easier, calmer, less heavy. There's also the idea of luxury, not just expensive things, but comforts, nice environments, beautiful spaces, a life that looks taken care of. And stress reduction is a part of it. Not always rushing, not always struggling, not always explaining yourself. Soft life is also often tied to femininity, but a very specific version of it. Femininity as softness, gentleness, being calm, being pleasant. On the surface, none of this sounds wrong. In fact, many women need rest. A lot of women are tired, emotionally tired, mentally tired, physically tired. So when they see content that says you don't have to struggle anymore, it resonates, and that's why this narrative works so well online. You see it in short clips on social media, lifestyle vlogs, carefully curated morning routines, soft music, neutral colors, slow living. It's aspirational, it's calming, it feels like relief, and again, there's nothing wrong with wanting a softer life. The problem isn't the desire for ease, the problem is what isn't talked about alongside it. And that's what we're going to get into. What I don't see talked about as much is what happens inside a soft life. Because the softer environment doesn't automatically create emotional safety. You can be resting and still be anxious. You can be surrounded by comfort and still feel unsettled. Softness on the outside doesn't always reflect what's happening internally. A lot of the soft life conversation focuses on removing stressors, but it doesn't always talk about building inner stability. Things like boundaries, discernment, self-trust. Those don't magically appear just because your life looks calm. Another thing that's often missing from the conversation is responsibility. Not responsibility in a harsh way, but emotional responsibility. Knowing when to walk away, knowing when to say no, knowing when something doesn't feel right, even if it looks good. Sometimes softness is just used as a way to avoid discomfort, avoid hard conversations, avoid disappointments, avoid choosing yourself when it creates tension, avoid reality in fact. But avoidance isn't peace. And this is where some women feel confused. They've created a softer looking life, but they still feel unsettled, drained, or unsure. Not because they failed, but because ease alone doesn't teach emotional maturity. And if no one tells you that, you start thinking something is wrong with you, when really something important was just let out of the picture. At some point, every woman has to learn. As a soft environment won't protect her from everything. It won't protect you from disappointments. It won't protect you from being misunderstood. And it certainly won't protect you from people who don't have good intentions. That's not pessimism, that's clarity. Real peace comes from knowing how to respond when life isn't soft, knowing when to speak up, knowing when to walk away, knowing when to stop explaining yourself. These skills aren't aesthetics, they are internal. A lot of women are encouraged to build beautiful lives without being encouraged to build strong internal boundaries. So when something goes wrong, they feel shaken because no one prepared them for discomfort. A soft life without emotional tools can actually make you more vulnerable. You start confusing quiet with safety, comfort with security, and calm aesthetics with inner peace. And again, the soft life isn't the problem. Believing it replaces emotional maturity is, because emotional maturity is what allows softness to last. Without it, even the most comfortable life can feel fragile. Now, I want to be clear. I want to be very clear. The soft life itself isn't the issue. Wanting rest isn't wrong. Wanting ease isn't weak. Wanting beauty and comfort doesn't make you shallow. What matters is what you're building underneath. Because softness is meant to be supported by clarity. A truly soft life includes boundaries. It includes discernment. It includes the ability to disappoint people when necessary. It means you don't rely on aesthetics to feel safe. You rely on self-trust. Peace doesn't come from how quiet your life looks. It comes from knowing you can handle yourself, even when things aren't calm. When softness is paired with emotional maturity, it becomes sustainable. It's no longer fragile, and that's the version of softness that actually lasts. So if you're drawn to the soft life, there's nothing wrong with you. Just make sure you're also building the inner structure to support it. That's where the real peace lives.